Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Um, this is a little project I did for a friend of mine. We went down into his field and we had to excavate up some topsoil the best we could there, about a foot down. It was still damp. This was done back in the spring. Seemed like the water table there is real close to the top of the ground. Eventually there'll be a pond built there, hopefully, if we can get together on it and get it dried out where we can build a pond. Um, Basically, we excavated about a foot deep, probably 300 or 400 foot long by 20 foot wide, and tried to screen it. And you'll see later on, and I'll get back on here and explain kind of what you're seeing. But we tried to screen it. Screener works really well, but what the problem was is a high clay content, and then there's high moisture also. So it didn't matter how much it vibrated or shook, or we finally took the top of it off and stuff, trying to get it to not get hung up and on the screen. But basically, we screened some and used it in the places where it would be handy up around the house, and then we just hauled some basically topsoil. The vegetation was dead, kind of. So we had a Harley rake on site, so it really didn't matter too much. Um, I took this excavator, dug it up, piled it up. Then I took the skid steer and tried to screen it and stuff. But then the homeowner, he had a dump trailer, so we finally just started loading some screened and some not screened, and we started dumping it where we needed it in the low spots. It went pretty well. The Harley rake works really well in this job. I got some more jobs coming up. I'll have some good footage of using the power rake, Harley rake, whatever, you guys. If you guys ain't familiar with it, it basically has got a drum on it with little carbide teeth or whatever, and it pulverizes the soil, grades it, kind of like a power grading box or something. But I've got another job, got better angles, getting better at this film and stuff. So I got it coming up. Probably the 2 videos from now. Got some angles where it's right on the front of the skid steer where you can see it really well, see how it works. I appreciate everybody watching so far, and if you're watching this, go ahead and like and subscribe, and maybe comment down below if you got any questions, or if you see anything and you think you want a job done, or you got a question about something we did, or if you got any advice or tips, or maybe something you'd have done different. Happy to hear anything you got. I'm always learning. Be happy to hear anyone's comments and get a conversation going. This guy was good to work for. Him and his wife, they helped when I needed, fed me lunch, and took care of me. So he sent me pictures later on. Uh, the grass come up really well. He worked really hard at it, but that's what you got to do when you plant grass. You can't just throw the seed down. He fertilized it, strawed it, and all that stuff. But we made him a good bed for the grass to grow. I'm going to get off here, and I'll chime back in when we get to the screener and explain to you kind of what we got going on. Again, I appreciate everybody, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment if you want to see anything or got any advice. Yeah, if you notice here, me and Jason's having a hard time. That's my buddy Jason. He's the homeowner. He had me a generator going. That gets the vibratory screener running. It seemed to work good at times, but if you'll notice, there's a lot of waste coming off that side. So we think it's getting clogged up with that deflector, or the system that funnels it and keeps it pressed against the screen. Um, it's just not working out too well. So I come over and go ahead and I get that. I don't know what you would call it, but I don't know if you call it a deflector. I don't know. Basically, you can set it different thicknesses, and it's got a type of belt that's in it that when you dump the dirt, it has to kind of squeeze between the screen and that belt, and it kind of helps break it up. It works really well if the soil is drier. So I've decided, let's take it off and see what it does, because you would think it'd work better when it's wet, but it basically just laid there. And really what killed us the most was the high clay content. Like it was good topsoil, but it had a little more clay than it needed to as far as when you're screening. It would have had to been really super dry and broke up pretty good to screen much. And plus, it was just grass. So, I mean, we tried it. It didn't work. We moved on with our plan. It just worked to a certain point. It was just running into too much time. So we set this off. We tried a little more. Um, that's about all you can do. You know what I mean? When you just got to tackle anytime a job comes up. I try to give a price and tell them what I can do, and then like you just have to see what the ground gives you, what's underneath the topsoil. You just got to work with what you got. That's one of the things about being a contractor. You can have a plan, and it never fails something to come up. So you can just take this and learn from maybe some of my mistakes watching this channel, and you may give me some tips that might would help. But in this case, we figured out after a little while of screening, like let's just see what we can do without screening it. So the Harley rake seemed to bust it up and do really well. And I've got some footage coming up here in just a minute. You'll see me spreading some of the soil out we dumped. Then you'll see me working the Harley rake. And once I work at Harley rake, you can see it does a really fine job. And then walking around, the last of the video will be me doing a walk around. And you can see how nice of a finish it is. It's real smooth when you're riding a mower across it. You don't feel the humps and bumps and things as if you just kind of tracked it in, and it settles evenly, and it gives a good bed for the grass seed to kind of when you walk on it, your feet will sink in a little bit. It gives a good non-compacted surface, other than where your skid steer tracks, and it's not so compacted it won't go through it. The skid steer's got a very light footprint. But don't forget to like and subscribe, and I appreciate all the views, and thank everyone for taking their time out and watching me. Thank you. Right here, you can notice what I'm doing is he's got a little grape vineyard here, really nice setup, and that cone is where the water valve is and stuff. So I have to be clear of it. But they're thinking at some point they're gonna have a wedding maybe, and right down that valley. At this point, this was before all the COVID-19 thing started, but they wanted this fixed really smooth, like if they was gonna set chairs, and this is kind of where someone would walk down the aisle at. That was the idea eventually, maybe having some weddings there or something. But they wanted me to shave off. It's just a real bunch of lumps and bumps. You can't really tell in the camera footage. They wanted me to shave off the lumps and bumps and kind of make it smooth and still drain water and all that. So I'd back up and I'd shave and get all the vegetation kind of chewed up off of it, and then I'd shave off the humps and lose it in the low spots. And any of the soil we had dumped, I would just drive through it, bust it up, and some of it was already screened, so it just made my life that much easier. That Harley rake does really well. Um, Anytime you want to finish a yard, it's an A1 tool. It's something anyone, if you're on a skid steer and grading business and stuff, eventually it helps you to have one. I mean, it makes grade work a lot simpler once you learn how to run it, and you can just make it look great. Customers really like it. Just does a really good job, and I just I had to work at a lot of different angles, and I tried to make that space between these two sections of grapes. Just try to make it as smooth as possible and still drain and kind of make it a focal point. And then I fixed all around their house. Got some good video here and there, but such a long video, I had to cut it short. But you can see kind of the process and what we did, and then how it kind of turned out there. I walked and showed how it kind of turned out. So I'll let you guys get watch here. Alright guys, here's the finished product. I started at one side of the driveway, and by the end of the little footage here, we'll get to the other side. But this is a very horrible spot there around where they had tree roots and different things. So I filled it in, done really good with that. But as you come around, you're looking directly at that spot where they just want to have it real smooth for the weddings and stuff. And they're already, as soon as I was finishing, they was getting straw bales out and running the seed, putting the seed on it, running the little seeder thing. And that's what it takes to make a nice job last. You can't let it rain and wash all the loose off. Those tracks right there, they're not as compacted as you would think. The grass still come up, looked really good when I seen the pictures and went back. But the house is really pretty. It's up on a knob, and we just reshaped it all and worked it all in. And there where you see the straw, that's where I was shaving those humps and stuff off. And I worked the material all different directions. It seems to make it look really good when you work multiple directions and crisscross. When you're using a Harley rake, you don't just work all one way. I kind of did in this stretch here because I couldn't work sideways, but I still worked at some angles and went back and forth, and then you can see it turned out really well. And you look back up toward the house here. Sorry for the shakiness on the camera, but when I was walking, I can't hold it still too much. I need to get me one of those gimbals or whatever where to keep it level as I walk. Make everybody sick. But it turned out to be really nice setup. I was happy with it. They were happy. It's just a beautiful place, And as you get closer to the house, we dumped a lot of the screen topsoil up toward the house and some in that valley where we was fixing. But that Harley rake will chew it up and make if the yard has topsoil in it already, you can reshape a yard with what's already there sometimes. It worked out really well. Eventually, I rent that Harley rake. Eventually, I'd probably need to buy me one, but they're about $8,500 to $10,000 according to what kind you want. So that's not in the books right now. But if you look down the field there's a place we tore up and brought the topsoil out of. This is about it for this video. I'll let you go and watch the last little bit of walking up the road there. I even hardly raked that road because we had got stuck and spun out and stuff, and they won't sow it back and kind of have a road there but grass and stuff. So I appreciate you guys watching, and everyone that watches, if you'll like and subscribe, and appreciate the support. Thank you.